I'm cutting down next week, and I wanted to.
But
We
can do a midweek thing.
Yeah, we can do a midweek.
You guys go ahead and get started. I'm going to try to download it here.
Okay. Where are we at here? Okay, seems like we're doing that. Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Brad from Cariboo Hart Organics, and today I'm going to do my very best not to fuck this intro up. Welcome to our Saturday morning wake and bake. We're going to try and do this every Saturday at 6 a.m. Pacific. It's a live wake and bake bullshit session where we just kind of shoot the shit about whatever's going on in our own respective grow rooms. We're going to try and answer any questions from anybody that might be in the live chat, and we'll try and bring up some specialized topics. Now, before I let my partners here introduce themselves, I just want to say that on top of our usual bullshit session today, we've got a particularly cool subject to talk about. I've been billing my friend Terp here as the most interesting person in cannabis right now, and today we're going to give him a chance to prove it. He's going to talk a bit about breeding autoflowers. Now, I know we've got a lot of breeders of varying levels of talent. I personally, I've done a whole bunch of reading around and a bunch of playing with pollen in my own garden. And I would like to consider myself maybe a step or two above entry level. I've got a bit of knowledge, but I've had really, honestly, more failures than successes in my breeding room. So when you get a chance to have a more experienced breeder come in and explain a few things to you and maybe help shorten that learning curve, it's always appreciated, I guess. You see right here, I've got my always angry Exodus cheese autoflower project here. So I'm hoping maybe I can, with it right here, it's ready to get harvested. We're going to cut this maybe today, even on the show. But I took a White Widow Afghani F1 male, and I pollinated an Exodus cheese female with it, an Exodus cheese auto female. And I thought it was just as simple as now I can just go and start pheno hunting in the veg cycle further with the stuff that are going to show me autos. There's a little bit more to it than that. And so Terp's going to help us go into that. So, we'll get into the goodies real soon. I promise you that. Just that the thing is, if any of you have seen the first two live shows, then you know that I did a pretty good job of train wrecking both intros. So I desperately needed to get past the first 8 seconds without any awkward pauses or putting my foot in my mouth. And now that I think I might finally be in the clear for that one, why don't we say hello to the rest of the gang out here? Rick, the old guy, how you doing, buddy?
Doing pretty good, thank you. It was an exciting week. Never a dull moment. I'm in the middle of some major renovations here, and a couple of setbacks, but we're still on track and looking forward to our session today.
Hey, what's up, folks? How's it going, guys?
Oh, doing good, buddy. How are you today?
Doing great. Better day today, rough week, but back on track. Good to see you guys this morning. I just wanted to go over a little bit of stuff that I didn't, I was kind of all over the place last week when I was talking about autoflowers. So I just wanted to go over some things and clarify some things and let everybody understand where I'm coming from. And then I also want to, I think I want to start off the shows now just by giving thanks and praise to those that came before us and all the people that took the time to make the books and write down the information and put this knowledge out there for people like me who were curious about it to go out and seek this information. And I just feel really blessed and really thankful to be able to have stuff like that to be able to reference to. So yeah, I just want to reiterate on that, and then shout out to everybody out there who's helped me grow along the way, and shout out to everybody who's tuning in as well. So yeah, with that being said, if you got any specific questions before we get started, or anything that you want to add to, I'm just going to give a shout out to Cannabuzz and say good morning to them. Make sure you come follow the show today. Come see the man, Rasta Jeff. Excited to see him talk about what he's got going on. And so, yeah, come check that out. Shout out to Cannabuzz. Shout out to Rasta Jeff. And shout out to the Gromies on there as well. Irie Army and all them guys getting it. So with that, if you got anything you need to say real quick, let me know,
Well,
and I'll get right into
Before
this.
we get into it, I'd just like to point out to anybody that's watching in the live chat right now, we got the IT department hanging out in there. So if you got any questions, fire away, and she'll shoot them out to me, and we'll get them in here for you, and try and do our best to answer any and all questions for anyone. And with that, have at her, Terp.
All right. So just going off of last week, I just want to clarify that a lot of these things that I do are just for personal interest and personal info, and I'm not I haven't been breeding anything or doing anything for profit. This has all been for myself. I'm a very paranoid individual, and I know I didn't do the forums and stuff back in the day. I traveled around the United States with a backpack, and that's how I learned the things that I learned. And I never went online. I didn't watch TV until my late 20s. I didn't know what the fuck was going on in the world for the longest fucking time. So without getting into too much of that shit anyways, but I do this stuff on a small time basis. A lot of my stuff is done in solo cups sometimes, just because I'm only getting, between 10 and 50 seeds, and an autoflower can produce shit ton of seeds, depending on if you start fucking with it environmentally. We'll get into that. So, autoflower breeding, like a true autoflower, is homozygous recessive. So it is going to be a recessive trait, and it will always be there. So autos are based off of a rhizosphere root development, and as a whole are going to affect the size and the flowering time, right? So I know, shout out to Jesse Martini on Cannabuzz. I see him doing a lot of it. I don't even know if he knows what he's doing, but he's stunting the growth on a lot of these autoflowers and vegging them out longer. And as he keeps, cutting that meristem, or main veining it, as some of these guys call it, you keep sending hormones to that plant that keeps telling it to re-veg and to re-veg and to re-veg. And so over time, as you do this, the plant just keeps re-vegging, and obviously he trains it out and ties it up and does his thing, and low profile grows, and that's great. You know what I mean? Especially for people. Shout out to Black Cell Market and Keith and them out there. He's got them badass cannons, and then plants like to take off and that stuff. Well, if you got autoflowers in a 3-foot tent, you can still grow with them cannons. You just keep hitting that main vein, and you just keep fucking spreading them out, keep vegging that out. And the minute you stop doing that, it's going to start flowering, but you'll grow chunky ass nugs, you know what I mean? That'll only be like 3-4 foot tall, so fuck it, them cannons will get it. So I don't personally have a cannon yet. I'm waiting. That's a big chunk of change at one point in time. My stuff's kind of split out into little increments, I feel like the $200 mark's my mark, but
That's
I'm getting there. I'm getting one of those things. I do have Cree cobs, but I feel like they're not as powerful as they could be, just from what I read and stuff.
I'm about on your level right there with you, buddy. Is the Canon is the next upgrade that I want to make, but is my financial situation is a little bit lower than that right now. So hopefully after the Christmas season, once things start picking up at work again.
That's what I figured too. Yeah. So back to autoflowers so flowering time is affected by root development in the rhizosphere and stuff like that, right? So all the connection between the roots and the plant, right? So that highway right there is going to affect the size and the flowering time when it comes to an auto. So now whereas you're in veg, like where the growth stage is determined by the plant, right? So we just talked about that. Like you kept clipping the meristem and all that stuff. and all those hormones kept telling it to re-veg. So that veg time is determined by the plant itself. So when we talk about environmental stressors and breeding and stuff, if you want a longer vegging autoflower when you're pheno hunting and all that stuff, I would do stuff like that. I would train plants to veg longer like that, and spray those and breed those into another autoflower and see if that's a recessive trait you can hunt for and stuff. Because you can make your mark on things. You just got to be able to hunt for it. Like a lot of breeders, you'll see a lot of mutations, and you read about mutations and stuff too. And a lot of breeders are breeding those into their plants and using those, trying to get those as recessive markers and stuff for their plants. But anyways, so you want to get a Punnett square, and you want to develop a Punnett square. And from there, you take your 2 plants, and you've got capital A over here, you've got lowercase a over here. You take those 2 Punnett squares, you make your next Punnett square, which is your next filial generation coming down. You match those up, and you can go out, you can use a Punnett square, or what I like to do is, like, you're gonna need 3 breeding cycles no matter what to lock in that autoflower, more than your 7, to get your 75% locked out. You know what I mean? A true autoflower breed. And your second breeding cycle will only be 25% from the F2 generation. So keeping that in mind, you got to keep coming back to it. You're gonna need 3 breeding. Someone's gonna need to mute their. There you go. All right. So the best way to do it, like we're talking about the Arise autoflower, like with what I got going on right now. So I'm going to take a Arise autoflower. I'm going to take a Ruderalis indica, and I'm doing 2. So I got one going to a potent autoflower that I have, and I got one going to an indica autoflower from Sensi Seed. I want a good basis of an autoflower that I'm going to cross to a potent female. So I need 3 generations of this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a solo cup, and I'm going to pop a couple Ruderalis. I'm going to have an Arise female. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take half of this Arise female, and I'm going to treat it with colloidal silver and silver thiosulfate. So I'm going to wrap half the plant up with a grocery bag. I'm going to fucking spray half of this plant. I'm going to get male parts of my female Arise on half of it. I'm going to take the bag off of that plant. I'm going to take half of that plant, and I'm going to take the pollen. This is like a quick open pollination type of thing. So I'm going to take a male Ruderalis and a female Ruderalis, and I'm going to take that Arise that I treated, and I'm going to pollinate the female Ruderalis with that. And then I'm going to take the male Ruderalis, and I'm going to pollinate the other half of that Arise plant. Does that make sense? I'm going to take those generations, and I'm going to take the Arise that I crossed, and I'm going to take 30 solo cups, and I'm going to fucking pop 30 of those fucking beans, and I'm going to time it. So I'm going to write down on my schedule when I soaked the seed, when it popped a tail, when I put it in a cube or soil or whatever medium. I'm typically just going to, reader cubes. So I'll go to that. I'll pop 30 of those. I'll time them. What I want is I'm looking for the ones that I want a fast flowering time, especially knowing that I'm putting Arise in it, which is known to be a stretching plant. So I want one that's going to flower fast because I don't want it going all over the place like the Alaskan purples. They're them fucking things. Yeah, they grew out of control. Anyways, so you take, I take the calendar, I mark it down. I'm shooting for like the 20-day mark, between 20 and 27 days, I want to see that thing flowering and going. That's my mark. So what I'll do is I'll pick out the 3 best that flower right at that time that I want, and I'll take those and I'll hit it with that pollen again back from the arise. And then I'll pop 30 more of those, and I'll repeat this process 30 times. And then I'll know, like, hey, I've got this one. It's showing all the arise traits. It's got the skinny leaves. It's Candyland stacking at the top. It's really looking like arise, and it's automatically flowering, right? So your lights are on 24 hours. So when I'm doing these 30 cup tests, the lights are on 24 hours. They don't ever stop. You got to make sure they're autoflower. You got to make sure that they are true autoflower, and the ones that don't flower out and die off and start doing weird mutations and don't grow right. I mean, those, you just start kicking those out. By the time you find the ones you're looking for, you probably only got about 10 cups left anyway. So, okay. So moving on to that, that's my selection process as far as going down 3 generations. And then locking that stuff in. And once you lock in like a good 3rd generation, I can take that 3rd generation and cross it with something else, and that's autoflower as well. And then you can start playing, with a few other things that you got, and all those are going to be ready to go. I'll treat one. I don't like. I mean, feminized seed makes sense from a financial point of view, if that's what you're doing. If you're selling seeds, then yeah, that's the way to go. It's also an easier way to lock in traits for people that don't know about this, about treating and spraying and whatever, feminizing. So anyways, I like to typically make regular seeds because it's just easier for me. It's you can't use any of the plant after you treat it. I mean, all that plant is toast. You get the seeds out of there, you throw that away. I mean, it's harmful. It's got chemical on it. You've been spraying it. Yeah. You can't use that, and you can't sell that to anybody. And people that do that and have done that, like, shame on you. Like, that's fucking horrible. Like, you fucked up a bunch of people like me's lungs and lives and shit. And so, anyways, we won't get into that. But and then I want to talk about like genetic transmission and stuff. So genetic transmission is a transfer of genes that express different genotypes, along with environmental and developmental factors that determine the phenotypes that they will be. So that's just reiterating on what I talked about as far as the selection process. Environmental factors. I mean, that is key for autoflowers. Is a must. You want 24 hours of light. For me, I always do cold weather. I keep it really fucking chilly when I'm breeding those things. Right from germination process is probably.
What's the reasoning for that?
Because you think about autoflowers, and most of the regions I've lived in are all colder regions. So I want an autoflower that can go late into the season, maybe handle an overnight snow that goes away the next day and is all warm again. It just kind of takes it as, oh man, what the fuck was that type of. That's the kind of plant that I want, and I want something with a strong vigor and can make it through that 1 or 2 days of fucking where the hell did that weather come from type of shit. And they do.
That's what I'm looking for with autoflowers, with what I've been trying to do too. Rick and I, we don't live too far away from each other, about 45 minutes or so. So he knows what I'm talking about. And in this area, after like the beginning of September, you're not guaranteed any gardening time. You're kind of on borrowed time after that. With autoflowers, you can let them go. You can plant them earlier in the season, and they'd be done by September. Or if they do have to go a little bit later, because we typically can get into October before we have the weather really turns on us, then you'll get that extra time. And if you do get a bit of frost overnight for a night or two, it's not the end of the world. You didn't just lose your entire crop.
Yeah.
Like I believe that for outdoor growing in climates like this, autoflowers are absolutely.
Well, there's a reason for it, Yeah. When it comes to autoflowers, we talk about potency, right?
Yeah.
So, you're going to get more of your potency from a sativa. Well, your true ruderalis is not very sativa friendly. Never has. And it wasn't until, great people started breeding that shit out and took the time in the selection process to go through all that stuff that gave us great high potent autoflowers. So yeah, when you think about sativas and they go late into the season and stuff like that, well then if you're breeding the sativa into the autoflower and you live in the colder regions and you want that more potent autoflower, typically you're going to be breeding with a lot of the sativas. And so you got to have that plant that can, you know, take that cold weather. And a lot of these sativas are tropical fucking plants. So it's like we're taking its known genetic fucking traits that are used to these kind of climates and saying, man, we're just going to tweak that a little bit. And
flip you on your head.
It's, but I mean, that's where it comes from. I feel like it's about potency for me when I'm breeding. You know, I want it to go late in that season, be able to finish, and its potency because I want that high potent sativa in there, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, environmental and developmental factors determine the phenotypes. Now let's talk about another one of these things when it comes to traits and stuff like trilateral branching. I specifically seek out trilateral branching. I don't know, call it. I'm one of those people too that I believe in the third eye jaw. You know, things happen for a reason. I take things, you know, a seed falls off in the carpet and I can't find it. I don't stress about it because I wasn't meant to touch that seed kind of mentality. You know what I'm saying? So I fuck with these things a lot. And searching for the different phenotypes, the trilateral branching, if I find a plant that's got good vigor and like, I mean, we'll talk about this chocolate lava cake, you know, that I found a while ago from shout out to Katsu and Katsu Seeds. It had a branch come off of it that I was environmentally stressing while it was young, and it trilateral branched on me. So that was something within its genotype that was in there. So I cloned that branch. And successfully cloning that branch, I ended up with a trilateral branching main cola plant. You know what I mean? And then I can take a cutting of that, you know, even when it's late in flower and stuff, and I'll breed with that. I just think that I just love it. It's just more bud. But anyway, so environmental and developmental factors, there are a lot of them when it comes to like small time breeding and stuff like that. I want plants that are gonna handle me fucking with them, you know, over defoliating or how long do they bounce back from that kind of stuff, or what kind of pH they can take before they just are pissed and start showing signs of deficiency and you know, which is really hard to do because when you're growing with microbes and beneficials, they don't always want to allow you to fuck up the way you want to. So sometimes you have to start out in a sterile environment with some of these things, and you can't just go right in with mycorrhizae and beneficials because it'll fuck up your process of trying to find out what you're looking for. So you have to keep that kind of stuff in mind too. And I mean, there are hundreds of things that we could go over, and I'm probably not remembering everything. So if people got specific questions, let me know. Seed making, pinching that meristem and stuff, you know, like we talk about this one right here, like I pollinated some parts and then I did a lot of cracking and pinching and twisting at the top node sections, 4 of them up, and you go up through here and all the seed pods and all here are all dead and burned out. They're not making any seeds, and that's because I fucking fucked with that meristem where I did and when I did at the time that I did, and it just didn't produce seeds. So now I got nice little beautiful fucking nugs that I'm going to taste that aren't going to have any seeds in them, and I don't got to worry about that stuff, and I didn't treat it. So these are regs. So yeah, that's another thing, environmental stress factors, that you're not going to get a lot of seeds if you do something like this. So this may not be an optimal choice for someone who is breeding for fucking seed production to make money. I just want a few seeds to test out, but I want to smoke this fucking weed. You know what I mean? I want to taste it. So this is optimal for me to fuck with this, just to get a few seeds and then I get some bud and. So consider that the things that I say are for people like me. So keep that in mind. Don't just go, if you're trying to make seeds to sell to your buddies and you hear me talk about, don't go pinching and fucking with your meristem, because you know you're not gonna get a lot of seed production in them lower branches. So, and then but anyways, it's
It's all about the
fun to do.
craft cannabis.
Huh?
It's all about the craft cannabis, buddy. That's what I consider myself, is like a craft brewer in his basement, just adding his special ingredients, trying to tweak his IPA or whatever it is that he fancies, right?
Yeah.
And when I look at you in the same way. I don't know if you consider yourself craft cannabis, but I would absolutely would. It's just
So I mean, yeah, I'm definitely craft cannabis. Definitely connoisseur, definitely I'm trying to get into a little bit more than that, because I would like to pay a couple bills. But this will forever be just I'm ever searching for the right medicine for a happy day every day. You know what I mean? That's all I wish for, is a happy day every day.
I hear you,
And
buddy.
I don't want to get into a lot because life is full of tragedy, but you know, I medicate for a reason. A lot of people be like, "Oh yeah, you're addicted. You got an addiction." Yeah, yeah, I do. I do have an addiction, but this is how I cope with
Yep.
the affliction of my life. You know what I mean? And I cope in a positive way.
Yeah.
You know, and I try to point that out to people when they say stuff like that to me. I'm like, well, you don't know the person I used to be. I was a motherfucker, you know?
Yeah.
And so for me to be the person I am today and to be a positive person, I just say, yeah, this is what helps me be that positive person. So if it's a problem for you, well, you know, have a nice day, you know.
Yeah.
But anyways,
Hey, buddy. Hey, before you go on, can we just give a quick shout out to Indica B? We got him hanging out in the live chat right now. He's
yeah, hey,
smoking
what's
on
up,
some
dude?
juice box, and much love to you, Indica, brother. We've been watching we watched your 4-part series of videos there, and we cannot wait to see what you're doing next. With that, back to her terp.
Yeah. Shout out to Indica B. You got a nice little setup going there. Um, very clean, very cool. I'm excited to see what you do in the future. You got some good seeds too, so you'll be able to show off some stuff. I think he's doing flood and drain too, so that'll be cool.
Yeah, after watching his 4-part series there and how clean his stuff is, I had to go into my grow room and I had to clean the whole thing up, because I thrive on a little bit of chaos in my space, not like a terrible shit show, but yeah, I saw his, I was like, oh my God, I'm such a slob, and I had to go clean up.
Nice. Yeah, and so like breeding traits that I look for personally are trilateral branching, which we already went over, warping, also known as whorled phyllotaxy. I like that. For my plants, it's a mutation that I try to look for, and I try to put that in everything that I do for myself. It just makes some really cool main colas, especially if you get a good long fucking sativa, you know, a good fucking 75, 80-day sativa on one of those things on a trilateral branching. The colas are like this fucking big around, you know, so it's pretty cool. But and another one is like stem structure. So I don't always fin my plants. I don't always top or fully fucking LST them the whole time. Sometimes I just LST them for veg and then I'll untime and let them go after that. I do that just to knot the joints up. So when you LST it, when they're young in veg, you knot up those joints where the nodes are, right? So as you knot those nodes up, I'll take them off during in flower just to kind of let them stretch a little bit, you know. I specifically do that too because sometimes I like to leave my stuff a little. You know, I don't always take as much as I could, so you know I want good airflow in there. So sometimes I'll just let them go. Sometimes I wish I didn't do that too, because then I end up having a super crop shit. But anyway, so I look for stem structure. I like those ones that are solid. I don't have to worry about them as much if I accidentally brush them with an arm when I'm pulling fan leaves and stuff, you know, and accidentally crack one in half. I don't like flimsy structure in a plant.
What's
I
your
think
thoughts on hollow stems on the main stem?
not my favorite. Not my favorite. Definitely not outdoors ever. Just it's a fucking open highway for the wrong kind of pests, and it's not optimal at all. Indoors you can get away with some of it because there's some of them structures out there that are super fucking terpy, you know. And you won't get away from all of it. I like a little bit more solid stem structure if it's got a little bit of space in there, you know, that's okay too. I think a lot of good breeders try to breed out as much of it as they can. Shout out to Ross, to Jeff. And so yeah, not for outdoors, definitely not. Indoors, not optimal either. I break branches sometimes. I'm not so much gentle this much anymore these days. I'm like, yeah,
I get in there.
I'm trying to get in and get the fuck out, you know.
Well, the thing is now I'm a medical grower, so I don't have just my 3 or 4 plants that I can fuck with now. I've got a little bit of a plant count, right? So I'm not as shy anymore because I don't have to maximize these few plants. It's if this one, if you shock it and it pouts for a couple days, you got it. It'll be fine in a few days. Not the end of the world. So it's cracking and bending and like did you see the post on Cannabuzz where I had that one where you could see your hand waving through it there after I was cracking and bending on it, and that was a hollow stem one. I just gave it a quick crack, and then it had just 4 splits on it, and you could see your hand through it like that, wave it from this side, and you can see it that way too. It's don't care for them.
Yeah, me neither. Yeah, I like if it's got a little bit of hollow structure in it. I like the structures that are not so much. You'll kind of see them. They kind of go vertical. They're like ribbons that go vertical around the stem.
Yep.
So the lines will kind of go up the stem all the way, and it'll be like. Am I making sense?
Yep.
So it'll go like this around it instead of it being this way, where it's just kind of straight line, like a celery, like a piece of celery. I don't like it when it looks like celery. I like it more when it looks like. Yeah. Anyways, so stem structure, flavor and smells are probably most important for me. I have a chronic disease, and it's called chronic rhinosinusitis, and I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, like to everybody out there who suffered from COVID and went through the things where you lost your sense of taste and smell, like my heart goes out to you. I definitely know your pain, and it sucks. And just my heartfelt concern, and to all the humans out there that that suffered from this. I myself went through 2 years of no taste and smell. I lost a shit ton of weight. I was sick with nose infections and eye infections and ear infections every week on the daily for like 2 years straight. And I ended up having to get major surgery done. So my immediate airway, all this up here is just Swiss cheese now. So, but I got my smell back a little bit and my taste back. So I have a very keen sense of taste and smell because I was also a chef and I used to just eat everything. I mean, when I say I'm a chef, I would fucking still go to McDonald's and smash. I loved food, period. Everything food. And I ate a lot of it.
Terp
and
does not discriminate.
I just eat a little healthier nowadays, So, but anyways, so taste and smell, like I can smell some of the deepest things that people don't smell because everything else is muffled away from me. Like I can't pick up certain things anymore, and unless I'm specifically targeting it to smell it, and there are processes that I go through. So I look for the terps and the smells. Obviously, terp is where the name comes from, and flavor and smell and taste are deep and dear to my heart because I don't get a lot of it, and when it comes to weed taste, if I can taste the weed, then your weed is good. Because there are some weeds that are good weeds out there. They smell good, and they kind of taste good. And other people are like, oh, this tastes really great. I'm like, I can't taste it, you know? So if I can taste your weed, it's fucking good weed. Oh yeah, shout out to Guru on Dude Grows. Shout out to Dude Grows. I know that he had went through some of that himself. It really sucks. All your favorite foods go out the window. You quit eating all the stuff that you'll find yourself eating shit that's like you would never normally eat all the time because you can't taste anything. So you're just trying to get it in, you know? And you drink more water than soda because you can't taste anything, and water is just easier to go down. So
it just gets to the what's the point kind of thing. Speaking of Dude Grows there, I was watching an old episodes there a couple days ago, just cleaning the house or whatever. And actually I heard Scotty shout our name out on there. So that was pretty cool. I wasn't expecting it, right? I'd signed up for the Patreon, so I knew it was coming at some point.
Oh, he shouted out you, brother.
Yeah, but I didn't. Well, sorry, that's what I meant. If I did, but anyway, that was just cool because I knew it was going to come at some point in time, but I didn't realize it had already happened like a week before. So I was just kind of watching an old episode, cleaning the house. I hear Scotty say Cariboo Hart Organics. I was just like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I felt bad. I posted a thing on Dude Grows about 3 girls, 1 pot after they did a show talking about, and I kind of felt like a dick. I thought back on it after. I was like, I wonder if they thought I was trying to jab at them or something. So I just want to, I don't know, they probably don't watch this, but anyways, I apologize. That was not my intention at all. I have ADHD, and so when I see stuff, I get so fucking excited to share something that nobody knew, you know what I mean? So I just fucking got so excited, and I just wanted to post it. And then looking back on it, I was like, man, that's kind of fucking dick move-ish. So felt really bad. I just want to apologize. That was never my intention. I was just so excited to show something that I've been trying out and doing and found that worked or whatever. And so looking back, it was kind of like, I was just like, oh, fuck, Jerry, but damn, man, you know what I mean? So anyways,
I do shit like that all the time, buddy. I fully understand that.
Yeah. So I was just like, anyways, but
oh no, I'm sure they took it all the right way. Took it all the right way.
Yeah, no, I mean, I get so much great information. I mean, you know, them guys are so smart, and they've been doing this consistently longer than I have, for sure. You know what I mean? Like, my stuff is in and out, and I don't want to get into my life, but you know, life and troubles happen. So it's a blessing. I'm just trying to pick up the pieces of where I left off and fast track with and catch up with all the fucking technology there is today, because a lot of my methods and stuff are all hideaway in the basement or deep in the mountains tech. You know what I mean? So
yeah, it's a new day and age in the world of cannabis, that's for sure. It's like it blows my mind, like, because I hate to kind of rehash old subjects that I've talked about on the show before, but like, I was your typical waste case high school stoner, right? I had no ambition, no nothing. Then a couple of years later, I quit smoking, and there's about a 14-year gap there where by the time I quit, there's maybe 3 or 4 strains that we had heard of, like White Widow, Northern Lights, Hash Plant, a couple others. Fast forward 14 years, and I go into a grow store that sells seeds, and you go, and there's about 8 million fucking strains, and you got all this different grow equipment. And I was just like, wow, that was 4 years ago. And I think of how many changes have come in the last 4 years, and I just like, wow, like, there's a lot of really cool stuff. And I really wish I would have been born rich instead of handsome, because I can't afford to play with the vast majority of it.
Hey man, I don't. You'd probably be some pompous ass, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so,
I hear that, buddy. I hear that.
And I don't want to, I'm not going to pass judgment on anybody, because there's a lot of great people out there that came from money, I'm sure. I'm just saying, I'm thankful and blessed to go through the experiences that I did, because I definitely appreciate everything that I got much more now than I ever did. And that's a blessing of a feeling to have, because, you know, I like to be able to just recycle and reuse as much as I possibly can. Shout out to my wife at Terparina for making me a greener man. And then when we talk, I wanted to go back to autoflowers and finish.
Yeah. We might as well do that before we go off into the weeds.
When I talk about breeding for traits and stuff, a lot of people don't know out there, except for a very select few of 6 people. Shout out to the High Grow Club. We bred autoflowers, and we were trying to make autoflower. I was doing this because I was infatuated with growing on the side of fucking cliffs. You know, elevation does come into factor, and wind, and there were a lot of mistakes, and I went through a lot of fucking crazy shit. But I figured out how to grow on certain spots inside the cliffs, and we had some climbs back in the day. I'm sure they're not. I went back recently, you know, here this last summer to check out some stuff, and there it's way overpopulated from the time I was, you know, a teenager growing up now. But we had climbs, and we had a rock climbing club, and it was a group of 3 of us, and that's what we did. We would rock climb on the side of cliffs, and I was kind of the one who got everybody into cannabis. But we would grow on the side of fucking cliffs, and we would make we eventually figured out how to use certain kinds of rock, and in a latitude of other things that probably weren't too environmental friendly. So apologize to the earth for that right now, but we made little greenhouses and stuff on the sides of cliffs, and it was pretty cool. We're talking like little fucking things, and we used lava rock and granite and stuff like that, things that were, you know, obsidian and stuff that was shiny and sun reflective for heat, you know. And we did some crazy stuff, but we grew some pretty cool shit on the sides of cliffs. And my buddy Matt, who is a fucking incredible lead climber, could lead climb into some of the craziest shit that nobody else could, and he would get us into some of the places that nobody could. And yeah, it's a lot of fun. So I got some stories to share for the future, and working on getting some pictures too. So yeah, but anyways, I just want to leave it there. So those are the things that I specifically look for. I want things that are just gonna take a beating and stuff like that. I'll put, once I get like through the final, you know, 5, and I'm gonna pick the 2 that I'm gonna breed with, I'll do stuff like put them in the corner of the tent and put a small fan right on them, just blowing hard to where they're just laying over and stuff. And I'll do that for a couple hours at a time and come take it off and see which ones stand back up and are just ready to go. The ones that just are laying over and they're like, fuck this, fuck that wind, bro, I don't fucking go anywhere, I fucking cool those out right away, and then I know what I'm left with.
Cool.
That's it. That's all I got for today.
Yeah, it's very interesting, Terp. I do have a few questions I'd like to run by you. Some of them, and I'm thinking a lot of them are more. You were focusing on breeding. I'm looking at actually the steps you take in growing an autoflower, and maybe you can dispel some of the myths as well. Starting off, you mentioned when you're breeding, you run under 24 hours of light. Now, would that same thing apply when you're growing, or is there an optimal light schedule for autoflower?
A true homozygous recessive, excuse me, recessive plant, which would be an autoflower, a true autoflower, will grow under 24 hours of light. I mean, it's not gonna photosynthesize for fucking 24 hours. You know, it'll go to sleep, obviously, under that light, but you're not gonna. It's a homozygous recessive trait, and it's feminized, and even not feminized. I mean, as long as you're not breeding hermaphroditic, you know, photo period plants into your ruderalis, trying to, you know, a lot of that stuff won't even work out anyway. So yeah, 24 hours. I got one here that, you know, I want as much production as I can. It's making seeds. It's only making a few of them because I fucking, you know, I did some seed stress to it, and yeah. So I mean, I'm just getting as much as I can out of it.
Okay, so and also, I understand that transplanting.
Now you can't do that to your photo period plants when you're breeding.
No.
I'm talking once you get into that second generation, you know, that's or that after you get through that first generation, that's when the 24-hour light tests come on, because I'm trying to breed out the photo period and the week, you know.
Right, right. Okay. I was also told that transplanting should be avoided. In other words, once you've got that autoflower seed, you should even maybe try to plant it in the container you're going to finish it in. Is that correct?
Yes and no. Yes, in the fact if you're not breeding and you're not low stress training, or you're not meristem training, whatever you want to call it. If you're constantly clipping the meristem and constantly vegging it out and constantly vegging it out, yeah, you can transplant it, because you're still sending those hormones to that plant saying, I'm still in veg, I'm still in veg, I'm still in veg, I'm still in veg. So like a lot of them guys, they'll leave a piece of that meristem like this much on there. So you got your north, south, east, west on your nodes coming out. You clip off north and south, you're left with east and west, and they'll leave a little section of that node up there. And I've done it before where as soon as I clip that off and she starts to veg out, I tie her down a little bit, and it'll start to die off at the top there. And as soon as that piece dies off, I'll clip that again, and it'll continue to re-veg, and it'll keep vegging and keep vegging. And you can, if you do it right, in the sense of like you got a 1 gallon fabric pot, and say you got it going in there, and by the time that you're ready to transplant that, your roots are probably just getting to the bottom. So you can place that in a 5 gallon pot as you're still clipping the meristem, and you can slightly cut down that 1 gallon fabric pot. You're going to burn the fabric pot, but you can cut down that fabric pot and take out that fabric pot and remove that, and then fill in right there, and you'll successfully transplant right there. You'll get a little bit better production out of that. You'll end up keeping it, vegging for, a couple more weeks as you do that. But I've typically found that you can do this to autoflowers about 30 something days before it actually will autoflower, and it won't do a whole lot if you keep fucking with it. So
Okay.
you'll get this. You can't do it like a regular photoperiod mother. So understand this trick only works for a certain amount of time. And it's that timing that you find in between there. You get enough time to get it all laid out. And it's genetic variant, but it does work, and you can do it that way.
And
But I don't suggest it if you're not doing this for a specific aesthetical reason, to, for decoration or for height, for growing in 3-foot tents or little Rubbermaid tubs or space buckets or whatever, then that's where all this is determined, right?
Right. Okay, and also I understand that you can't clone an autoflower. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah. Okay. And if you had a crystal ball, Terp, what do you see for the future of autoflower as far as yield, probably more than anything else? Like will people like yourself and others be able to breed a larger yielding plant, or is it based on the fact that there's only a short period of time from the time you germinate that seed until it's finished, and it can only grow so large?
Yeah, so the future for autoflowers for me is outdoor autoflowers, and I want to do outdoor autoflowers that are soil hydro mix kind of thing going on, so that the yield factor comes into play, right? Because we go over, we reiterate on what I talked about with autoflowers when it comes into the plant, what the plant determines, and then what flower determines based off of what you do. So with that being said, I take that into the grow style of the soil hydro thing going on, the future for that is for me out there is for that, and also a feeding program, right? Because we talk about autoflowers. Well, a lot of people will don't really know how to feed an autoflower because they don't really know what stage of life it's in, because it all happens so fast, and the days are not actually determined by the plant's growth itself. It's more, more nano than that. So feeding program, feeding schedule. I am chomping at the bit to get some of this IRE done for autoflower, because I want to put one in my fucking bucket, and I just want to see what the hell happens. Because I mean, you think about an autoflower, and you think about hydro, and you think about soil and the time. It only makes sense to have autoflowers and hydro because it's a constantly and readily available system of nutrients, and that can be easily added or subtracted, right? And so when it comes to autoflower and hydro, you think about, well, the first sign of flowering, I know that I need to reduce maybe my nitrogen and start uptaking my my PK, right? So with the hydro and an autoflower, that's an instant tell for me. If I got an autoflower strain that, flowers at day 12, you know what I mean? Well, okay, I'm gonna, change out this nutrient here. I'm gonna add some more PK. I'm gonna start this flowering process. I'm gonna start hitting it with a foliar for flower, and it just allows yourself more control. And when I think about yield, and I put this in a greenhouse and I do it the way I want to do it, I'm gonna probably have some 10-foot, 10, 12-foot autoflowers that are gonna be high producing and fast producing. I'm looking for 55-day fucking finishers that are gonna be 12 foot tall. If it's possible, that's the goal in the future that I'm shooting for.
Yeah. I personally, I'm living in Canada, and we legalized recreational a while ago now, and quite frankly, I'm surprised and disappointed to some extent that each of us or each family is allowed to grow 4 plants for recreational purposes, and I'm surprised that more and more people haven't taken advantage of that. And I'm thinking that maybe people think that it's too overwhelming. It's just too much to take on. But with an autoflower, it's just about a no-brainer. And I would
There's a
really
way
like.
around it, bro. You got a McDonald's or something up there, don't you? Yeah.
Actually, no.
Just go downtown and find some homeless, man. Go find that dude and you be like, hey, I'm gonna buy you a meal every Friday at this time, and all I want you to do is tell the government that you live with me. And you have him sign a little lease form, you know what I mean, with all his correct information. Hopefully he's got some kind of ID. Most of them guys got all their information. And if they're making a buck, they're down. They might come around a little more than you want to, but I mean, there's a way around everything,
Well, sure. True. Good. Okay. Well, that covers my list of questions here.
I have the IT department.
Them guys love free weed too.
I got the IT department right beside me here saying she can't wait for this summer to have a pocket full of auto-flowering seeds and just go walk around town and just. They pride themselves on their pretty gardens in the area, and we can make them a heck of a lot prettier.
Yeah. When I think about an autoflower for you in your area, I think about you want something super resinous for bug, IPM, bug pests. And then you want something that can handle cold weather.
Yep.
Right. And then you want something that's going to have structure because you got that good sun up there,
Yeah, but it's also got to be able to handle a bit of heat. Like, we don't usually get crazy insane heat, but it does happen.
Oh yeah, no, I mean that's given. Yeah, like we're all work. We know how it is. It's fucking hot and humid, and it's hot and humid in the
Okanagan heat down here, but
and dry and cold in the winter. So
yeah. So I think Yeah, I think autoflowers are really cool, and the stigma and
I'm
just
thinking there's an Alaskan purple or rise autoflower in the future.
ooh, I like the sounds of that. I really like the sounds of that one. That sounds excellent. Um, I think I've got coming up in the future here. I've got for autoflowers in stock. I've got some Skittles, Chemdog, Candy Cane, and Critical Mass. So that could be interesting. And then, as you guys know, I've just germinated some rise seeds not too long ago. Uh I'm actually embarrassed to say this. I fucking killed 5 of them, man. Yeah, see the look on your face says it all, bud. I think I drowned them. It's the only thing I could think of. And so here, usually I use a heat pad with a towel on top of it to keep just a bit of warmth coming through. I saw on Ross to Jeff's podcast not long ago him saying, don't do that. He's seen more seeds cooked. Usually I have a very good germination rate, well above 90%. I think I drowned them is the only thing I could think of.
All right, so let's switch up your germination process then.
Okay, let's
so
do it.
Why don't you just do it the way I do it? And I'll explain it now because
Okay, let's hear
you
it.
should never drown a seed.
Well, I didn't think the paper towels were that
I'm
wet.
going to give you a straight up, right down to the math process. You take a paper towel the size of a tissue. Okay? This size.
Okay.
Fold it in half. Okay? You take 3 tablespoons of water and place it in a small cup. 3 tablespoons of water. Put your seed in there and soak it for 18 hours. Make sure that you come back and you dunk the seed under so that you can get all the shell soaked.
Okay.
You want that shell to fully open up so it'll crack open, right? It'll start coming out in that water if it doesn't sink on its own. And you just go and take your pinky and just dunk it. Dunk that. Make sure it's dunked. Make sure it soaks for 18 hours. You take that 3 tablespoons of water in that small container. You take your paper towel and you slowly pour that 3 tablespoons of water out onto your paper towel without dumping the seed out quite yet. Until if the seed comes out, that's fine. You just take that. Actually, better yet, just take the whole thing, slowly dump all the water, the 3 tablespoons of water out into your thing. The seed will come out on the thing. Take your cup or your container, pick the seed back up off of the thing. Take your paper towel and crunch it up. Don't squeeze it till it's bone dry, and don't squeeze it really hard. Just slowly crunch it up until you watch the water drip out. And then when it's no longer just pouring out and the water is just dripping, you're done. And then you pull it out, stretch it out, smooth off an area with your finger at the tip. Make sure you got gloves on. Smooth the area out. Place the seed on there. Fold it over the top. Press it down nice and tight. Take a Ziploc bag. Place it in a Ziploc bag. Take a hand spray for like your sprayer. I have a little sprayer of water that I use for my plants in the house, It's just distilled water. Open your bag and spray the inside of your bag with 1 spray from the sprayer. Seal the Ziploc bag up. I take a kitchen towel, like the ones you dry your hands off with, the small ones.
Yep, you bet.
I fold it in half and I place that Ziploc in there and I fold it over in half. I place that in a warm area. I have like a closet that's a furnace, and it always stays like 80 degrees, or like between 77 and 80 degrees in that area. Yeah. It's just warm there. I place that in that warm area and I let it sit. And I'll let it sit for about, I read genetics, it happens pretty fast, typically. But just go, 18 hours, or just go 24 hours. The next morning, put it in at dinner at, 6 o'clock that night. When you wake up that morning around, 8, 9 o'clock, go in there and check it. As soon as it pops a tail, you'll see it pop a tail. As soon as it pops a tail, I take it out, a rotor cube, I put it in a rotor cube.
Okay.
And then if I have like a germination tray, then I'll put it in the germination tray under constant humidity. If you don't have a germination tray, I got some Broke Boy tech for you. I'm going to go grab it. I'm going to show you right now.
Okay, I've got germination tray or humidity domes and trays and stuff like that, but you know what? There's people watching this show that they might not have that stuff. This is another reason for another way Terp can display his most interesting person in cannabis title that I've bestowed upon him.
And I've used a system similar to Terp's. Go ahead.
All right. So what I have here, this is a regular, jar you'd use to, a ball. Yep. I forget the quart. It's 24 ounces, 3-cup jar. And then these are just little round plastic containers that you can get, the little Ziploc screw-on ones. Well, it fits inside this thing perfectly.
Okay.
I think these were like $1 at the store. And then this is a rotor cube. So as soon as it pops a tail, I just barely place it in the top there. You see that?
Yep.
That. And then it likes to roll around in there. So I just put the glove that I used inside there just to keep it steady. And then I spray the top of the jar. And then I'll put this back inside there. And it just sits in there nicely.
That's cool.
Cool.
And so, and then I can just go put that on the tray where, you got some other little babies that's come up or whatever in your grow area or wherever you put that. Make sure I try to keep, a little warm area down on the bottom there. And then, just the moisture in there is just, that's 100% humidity in there. It's doing great. I don't have to water that rooter cube or nothing. It's good to go. And then I transplant as soon as the taproot hits the bottom of that thing. So
okay.
Into a solo cup.
Okay. So
did you have any that made it?
Yeah, I got 5 that are doing really well. Really well.
Shit. I wouldn't be too concerned, man.
Oh, well, fucking I know, like
it'd have been better to have more to choose from, but if they didn't make it through that germination process, then fuck.
Yeah, I know I think the five that I got are looking really well. Now I'll just give you my germination method, the one that I'll typically use. So so you guys know, I try and use aquaponics. It's one of my things I've been trying to incorporate, and I would like to eventually possibly move all my systems and that, but that's a long ways off. Anyways, for my water source, I like to use the paper towel and dip it in the aquaponic water. So, cause it'll have the aquaponic microbes in there already to help with get that going. We're all microbes fans on this show.
Right.
So we then we'll put that on a plate, like a dinner plate, and we'll put our seeds on that paper towel, and then we'll fold it over top of itself. And then I'll cover it with a piece of saran wrap or whatever. And then usually I have just your average, heat pad that you'd use for like your sore back or whatever. I have one of those that fits a tray or a plate on it just nicely. And then I'll put a towel with a couple folds in it so that you get just a little bit of warmth coming through the towel, like lukewarm, maybe a little bit better than lukewarm. Yeah. And then I find that'll help speed up the germination by a day or two. And usually within 24 hours, I've got tails. And then from there, I'll transplant them into peat puffs that have been dipped in pH aquaponic water.
Yeah, all mine are done in 24 hours. So
typically,
it happens fast from the time that I wake up that morning and the tail pops. From the time that I put it in the cubes, within the next day, they're already out. I'm either taking the seed hole off and getting rid of it and transplanting them into cups right then after.
And then, but also speaking of your eyes, so I decided that with these ones, as you guys know, I've been to organic gardening for pretty much all year long, but I went and bought some hydro newts using the high output lineup from Innovating Plant Products. Because I want to do it for the Solo Cup Challenge, right? I'm going to do cocoa because I can feed every day in cocoa in the Solo Cup Challenge. So I got those, but I'm going to try and grow the arise in soil because I'm already familiar with these newts and doing them in soil. So that's how we're doing that. So the arise got their first feeding of a week nutrient dilution there last night. So we're going to see how those do. Those cat piss that I think you guys have seen those posts there. All three of those did well. We're still waiting on the other one, but I haven't been out there to check on it yet today. So, or down there, I should say, to check on it yet today. So, it might already be on its way, but I put those in the cups in cocoa yesterday, and they've had their first feeding of nutrients. They'll get their second one here real shortly. So it's pretty exciting stuff going on.
What about the other three you got there? Didn't you have some other ones you popped? Or is those the ones you're talking
I
about?
did one of those because I don't want to just be in a big hurry because I would like to be able to just, if I can, just get one, hold on to the other seeds and
Right.
and let them do their thing. Yeah, that one, that other one, that's the one that I was still waiting on. That I was just mentioning. Hopefully it's got a tail on it when I go down there this morning. If not, I'll just do another one.
If not, wait till you do another one and order some EM1.
Okay. Okay,
and
I
then
can do that.
Yeah, I would do it with EM1. If this one doesn't go, get the EM1 because they're old.
Okay, and I've heard you mention EM1 on the show, and I think you have explained it. But to anyone else that is unfamiliar,
I've
can you
mentioned
talk
EM5
about that?
as well.
Say again, sorry.
I've mentioned EM5 as well.
Okay, can you talk about them just real briefly to let anybody that's unfamiliar with them?
So EM1 is a microbial inoculant for seeds, and it just it brings dead seeds back to life. It helps seeds that have a hard time or whatever genetic problems or environmental problems that they've had. It helps you succeed with germination. I can't explain the science right now. I'll have better information for you next time because I wasn't on that topic in my head today.
Yeah, no, I get that.
Remember everything. And then the EM5 is what I use, like, because a lot you can do bud washing and sprays and cleaning equipment and stuff, and there's obviously isopropyl alcohol for cleaning equipment, but EM5 is a blend of organic ferments and stuff that are really great to use. I clean my scissors with them. I clean all my equipment with them. Can clean your plants with them. They're great for dunking your plants. It's a way better alternative than for vegetation and transplants and stuff, as far as like your hydrogen peroxide, your H2O2. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It's just a better option. Smells better. Really great stuff. You should check it out. I use it. Yeah.
Can you guys hear my cats fighting in the background?
No.
So all I hear behind me is this, and then you hear the stuff as they're bouncing around, hitting stuff.
So if I could, I'd like to share my my germination process.
Yes,
I've done the
absolutely.
paper towel. Sorry?
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, so I've done the paper towel method for many years, but more recently, well, since I've been growing in cocoa, all I've done in many cases is just put some cocoa in a solo cup, and don't make the soil too moist. But I do like to put a little bit of recharge in there so that the moment that tail comes out of the seed, it's inoculated with the microbes immediately. And so just find that right moisture, not too wet. And then I simply stick the seed into the ground, maybe a quarter, an eighth of an inch or quarter inch into the ground, with the pointy part of the seed up, and then take some saran wrap and cover the solo cup and put an elastic band around it, and then just keep an eye on it. And I've had some pretty good success just doing that, and watch that thing pop through the ground. It's pretty exciting.
Nice.
See, one of the things I like about
got,
cannabis is there's so many ways to skin a cat, as the saying goes, right? It's just there's so many, like, yeah, it's
I'm currently I'm actually testing that that same method that you're talking about, only I skipped the seed soaking process, and I went into a cocoa / living only soil mix that I got going. So it's cocoa, peat, perlite, amendments, and some living only soil with pumice rock, lava rock, and you know, and aged forest. But anyway, so I took this and I just took a couple space forests that I'd gotten off of auction on Cannabis from Rasa Jeff. Shout out to Rasa Jeff. I had gotten a bunch of males out of the last one on the grow that I had to scrap. So I put a couple of them in there, and I've got them in a 18-ounce solo cup, and I just spray the top down, just keeping that layer moist at the top, not trying to saturate it all the way through or have any drainage, just keeping that top layer moist. I sprayed it, you know, 2 or 3 times in the morning, or if the humidity. So how I'm testing the humidity at the surface layer, I've got another one of those jars, the smallmouth jar that fits inside of the solo cup right on top of the medium, where I've got the seeds planted just to the inside, and sprayed the top of the jar. So I got a humidity layer in there, and then that humidity layer is telling me when I need to spray it. And I didn't seed soak them, so I'm just seeing, I'm testing some really great genetics in a little mixture of some living only soil that's got some roots organic and some recharge mixed up in there to help start it off.
Good, good. Oh, by the way, I sent a package to you, those red Congos that we were talking about.
Oh, nice.
They went out a couple of days ago, so good luck with that.
Yeah, we'll see, man. I love African weeds, so we'll see what's going on here.
Yep, for sure, for sure.
I would definitely like to know the lineage if that's possible. Know where if it's possible to know, you know, where the parents came from and whatnot, so I can, you know, because obviously some strains are dependent and have certain traits that I would like to watch out for if I knew about them. You know?
I'll see what I can do, Terp. I'll see what I can do there.
Yeah, the red Congo sounds exciting. It's
yeah, I definitely would love to check that out. Yeah. I'm getting pretty close to. I'm wanting to see what that Hindu and that Tanzania Kush is. So.
Yeah, that should be nice stuff. Very nice stuff.
Yeah, especially if it's a good variety of Hindu. Like if it's an old school Hindu fucking landrace. I got him from Omega Genetics. You know, I wanted to make, you know, my own silver thiosulfate, which is fairly easy to do, but ordering the components from Amazon at the time was a pain in the ass and honestly just not worth the time or the money. But I can now, obviously, which I will. I'll probably do a little thing on here on the show you how I built it. Shout out to who's that YouTube dude? Anyways, I got it off of his website with the links. I'll post some links later. His links, and make sure I shout him out of how I found the information. But it's just essentially a battery hooked to a piece of silver bullion, and you put that in a silver bullion and cook it overnight, and that's essentially it. But anyways, you can buy the silver thiosulfate from them and the colloidal silver. And that's how you treat to make your feminized seeds. And they sent me a free pack of seeds with it. And then I went on their website and checked it out, and they got all kinds of fucking landrace stuff going on. And I ain't never heard of them.
Really?
And they're a laboratory based out of Las Vegas. So I don't know. We'll see what's up. I mean, you don't really know until you pop them things and see what comes out, and if like there's any work been done to it or if it's just some fucking random bullshit,
Yeah, I got a buddy that lives nearby in the area, and he's got his hands on some Mazar-i Sharif, or if I think that's how it's pronounced, or something close to that.
I've heard of it.
That's I'm not gonna try and tell you where it is because I'll totally fuck up where it came from. I guarantee it. But when I have looked for land races because I don't have my eyes on one specific strain. There's so many out there, and I haven't tried any of them. But I just trying to remember names, and I know that he's got that in the area. So when it comes time for me to start putting money down and get my hands on a few strains, I'm going to grab something completely different than that. So we can just, and then through people like Rick with Red Congo, and then you getting your hands on stuff, me getting hands on stuff, and good old fashioned seed training, maybe we can get a whole bunch of these landrace genetics to a bunch of different areas.
Yeah, we'll find out. I don't know how many seeds Rick sent me there, but
7.
What's that?
I've sent 7 seeds, and they're
Okay.
all they're feminized as well.
Okay. Yeah, so I'll probably find a winner out of that one and hose it down, and then I'll take the second winner and fucking flower it out and give her a taste. And the first winner, when I say winner, I'm talking about like structure and environmental stress.
Yeah.
And obviously, if it makes it through that and has some good, it's going to have some good flavor. Sometimes they don't smoke good, and I'll save a branch that I can taste off of that keeper. But then I'll hose it down. I'll get a bunch more seeds, and then we'll pop 30 of those and see if we can find the same thing. And then once I find a pheno that's good out of there, then I'll lock a pheno down, and we'll figure out how to get that phenotype to you.
I love the idea of you showing us about the feminizing or sulfing process and how to mix that stuff up, or because that's one of my New Year's resolutions.
You're wearing a mask. Make sure you're wearing gloves. Make sure you got you can go to your fucking local lumber store, hardware store, or whatever. They got Tyvek suits. Painters use them. Wear one of those. If you're looking for broke boy tech, buy one of the suits. Get some cheap fucking yellow kitchen rubber gloves. Duct tape those fucking on you. If you can't, I have a fucking mask from China that's like, one of them rubber fucking things that go over there. So anyways, if you don't have one of those, wear one of those fucking PM25s or N whatever rated fucking masks, put one of those on, put a bandana on and a face shield on. If you don't have a face shield on, this is going to sound really fucking hilarious, but the cheap I don't know if you guys got 7-Elevens or what.
Oh yeah.
But
That's one of the things that you can mention that we actually do have in this town.
It's got the clear plastic grocery bags. You can see through them. Put one of them motherfuckers over your, don't seal the bottom of it, but put it over your fucking head with a fucking mask on. And it will do the fucking trick. You won't get any spray on your face or your ears, your eyes. So put a fucking grocery bag over your fucking head, and then take half of your plant and think of your plant as north, south, east, and west, and think of it like an X. And what you want to do is you want to take south and west and separate south and west and wrap those up in grocery bags and tie them off at the bottom, because you're going to be a little bit rough with them. It's okay. You're a plant, you're breeding with it. You're not worried about pretty flowers. So don't cry over spilt milk. Boo. I'm just playing. I love them too. But wrap them up with bags, tie them up, separate them, then go in and then treat. When using colloidal silver, you don't need to use spray. You want to just, because you're in veg, just take your hands with gloves on. And what I like to do is take the branch, and I'll take my half a little thumb here, and I'll take the branch where the nodes and the bud sites are, and I'll have a little squirter. Anyways, a little dabber, little squirter dabber.
Yep.
You're holding that plant like that, and you're dabbing those node sections with that colloidal silver, and then gently take your thumb. This is before pre-flower, and just rub that stuff in there gently with your thumb, with your hand behind the plant. Don't roll off the leaves. Don't press it too hard. You just want to gently damp it on there with your thumb, because you got gloves on, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and then here's a little tip: keep a paper towel on you, on hand. I keep one tucked up underneath my arm like that. After I'm doing that, I take that and I'll wipe that off so that I don't get it all over my clothes and get it everywhere else. And you'll do that for about 2 to 3 weeks in veg before you flip into flower. Treat it with the colloidal silver, and then once you get into flower, once you flip into flower, For the first 3 weeks of flower, you're going to, with a small spray bottle, you're going to take your hand and do the same thing. Tie your sides up, your untreated sides up. Take your hand, make sure you don't got your fans and stuff on, and you're gonna spray those sections, the bud site sections. Once they start getting pistils, you want to make sure that you saturate those pistils with that silver thiosulfate. And then once you're done treating that for about 3 weeks, then you should start to see pollen sacs, on one side of your plant. And you can preserve that genetic line by taking some of that pollen and pollinating itself with it, which is an S1, right? So,
Yep.
There's a lot of people don't like S1s and stuff, and I know that they have a lot of issues sometimes, but sometimes they're all right. I typically like to, while I'm treating one side of the plant with silver thiosulfate, because I'm soaking it down, right?
Yep.
Here's a little tip. Well, while you're doing that, you can be hand pollinating the other side with something else. You know what I mean? So you're going to get a little open pollination a little bit from itself. But if you did it right, you should be able to pollinate most of that plant with whatever other male pollen you're using. And because you're going to pollinate that side with your silver thiosulfate wrapped up in plastic like you did that one side, you'll pollinate it, you'll wrap it up, unwrap that other side, and fucking hose it down with silver thiosulfate, right? Once that's treated, you can fucking take all that stuff off, and don't get crazy with the pollen on that other, you know what I mean? Like if it's a plant that takes to, breeding pretty well, then you don't need to worry about it. If it's a plant that doesn't take to breeding very well, then why the fuck are you breeding with it?
Yeah.
So, yeah, so you can treat, it's just like Jenga, with the plant. You're working one side and working the other, and they're working in harmony because you've saturated this one side and it's just soaking wet. No pollen's going to take on that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's saturated with fucking water and silver thiosulfate. So, and it's fucking doing shit to its fucking chromosomes, So,
Yep. Yep. Yeah.
so yeah, there's a little tip.
Cool.
Yeah, so that's interesting because, like I say, that's kind of my New Year's resolution is to get into the selfing a little bit because it's just another nerdy aspect of the cannabis plant that.
This is hobby shit too. Like on a commercial standpoint, I don't know that any of these techniques are even necessary or maybe even viable for what you're doing. But this is just for I'm trying to get the most out of what I can with what little I have.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, so for my purposes, I would end up wanting to do just the whole plant with silver thiosulfate or colloidal silver. Apparently,
If I'm gonna lock in something for a long period of time, I'm gonna open pollinate that. Those two are just gonna sit in there and grow together to the end of their lives and barely be untouched after they've made it through all their tests, and they'll finish out their happy little lives fucking like two little lovebirds,
Yeah. Yeah. So I want to get into the silver thiosulfate, and then with the sulfate.
OmegaGenetics.com will get you started with what you need.
Okay.
And they'll probably send you some free beans off their list. So,
ooh, I like that. I like that idea. And then another thing, exciting times is, so we were talking about the arise that I've got going on, and I'm hoping I get a really nice male out of that. I've kind of been thinking a lot lately about how I've had 3 failed breeding projects in a row, or I consider them to be failed. I've had some good stuff come out of those, but I'm not looking for good. I want great, right? I'm a bit of a weed snob. And I think my mistake is, and it wasn't even a mistake, because my Afghani male that I did all my first original round of pollinations with, I think it was a little too dominant, because everything I've grown out since then seems to be far too Afghani leaning when you grow it out, smoke it, the taste, the smells, and all that stuff.
did you take the strongest growing, happiest male you had?
I had literally one male to choose from. I bought a 5-pack of Afghani regs, and I had my Chem Dog Fems that I knew I wanted. Chem Dog, I at least since day one, I have one thing that I wanted to try and get that chem smell, tastes, all that. I love the fuel. The Afghani was literally the first and only male I could get my hands on, so I just put them together and let them do their thing.
So let's talk about that then. Let's talk about you're wanting a flavor and a smell and a taste. I don't think maybe a male is the way to go for you. I think maybe you should take a great smelling, great tasting, great vigorous female that you have that you like, and I think maybe you should treat that female and then touch it with another, you know, what with your chem, touch that female with whatever your, you know, with whatever structure or whatever, you know, flavor you got going on, and go that route rather than look for that amazing male. I feel like if you're looking to genetically preserve a line or a strain for a long-term period, then a male is going to be the way to go, and searching for the right male is going to be the way to go. But if you're looking to move on to the next thing as far as flavor,
yeah.
So you're looking to breathe something into something, get that flavor, and then find something great from that, correct?
Okay. Yeah.
So if that's your goal for that, then I say find that great tasting female, find that great growing female, and treat that. You know, you're obviously going to give up the bud on it, but you're gaining that profile, that plant profile, that flavor profile, that structural profile, and then you're taking and you're putting it with what you want. And I feel like that is going to be the step that you need to take to get what you want.
Okay. Yeah, like I've said, I said at the very beginning of the show, I feel like I'm a step or two above an entry-level breeder, right? Taking some knocks and enough.
That's all you need to do right there, man.
Just and I've learned a few things. I've learned definitely a few things that I don't want to see in my growing. And I firmly believe that I will start to see the things I am looking for, and I'll recognize them when they come, because it's just a matter of time. Mathematically, it has to happen, right? It's you can't have too many shit shows before something good happens. And like I said, the product I've had as a result. I
say create your own great male pollen, because you're more than likely to find a great female first.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Find a great female and get that pollen on something else, on another great female, and see what happens. I feel like your Wheel of Fortune wheel is gonna fucking land on more that way. You know what I mean?
Jackpot a lot sooner.
Yeah.
Well, that could be.
Shit, I know you got something waiting down there in your basement right now that's probably dying to just get sprayed.
Yeah, I off the top of my head, I can think of like the Gorilla Skittles. You're gonna hear me. Well, you've heard me talk a lot about the baby shit terps already, and it's funny because on somebody else's post, I commented on that, and it seemed to catch on a bit on Cannabis there. But that's the best way I can describe it. Like terp, when I first met you, you sent me that wheel with the flavors to try and figure out what the taste and stuff is.
Flavor wheel.
I sit there and
Culinary
I look at
101.
Yeah, and I sit there and I look at it from time to time, and as I'm doing dabs or smoking a joint, and every time I look at it while I'm doing the Gorilla Skittles dabs, I'm like, "Where's the baby shit on this wheel, man?" Like it's the best thing I can think of to describe it. But I would love to take something like that, because it's probably my favorite.
Maybe I'll make you a new fucking flavor wheel with all them fucking disgusting ones.
That's what I think that's.
We'll call it the shit stain wheel. I don't know. I'm just playing. That sounds disgusting.
It does, but we can come up with a good name for it. And then actually, here's an idea: we could put it on the back of a T-shirt and then sell them Cariboo Hart TV. We've been talking about setting up a Patreon page, right? So we can start upgrading the show and stuff like that. As we sell Cariboo Hart TV T-shirts, and all proceeds go into upgrading the show.
Brad, by the way,
I have a Patreon set up. I've just never used it. When I initially found Patreon, I was trying to get connected with Dude Grows, and I'm not fucking too tech savvy. I mean, I'm relentless with searching for information, but I just hate typing and stuff. So I accidentally set up my own Patreon, not knowing that what I was doing. It was, anyways, really weird. So, sorry. Go
Well,
ahead.
then, we'll try and give you a plug here. Send. I call Terp the most interesting person in cannabis these
Oh,
days.
you set it up through your show.
Yeah, say again, bud. I didn't catch that.
Oh, I said just set it up through Caribou, man. This is just your show,
Okay.
man.
Okay. Well, maybe we'll work on that. We'll try and plug that better for the next show after we talk.
Let's get some people interested in what we got going on, and hopefully, some people want to support us. That would be really dope if we could actually do something like that and set it up, because that'd be great. I got a lot of stuff that I'm trying, and there's some more things to share, and summer should be a really fun one. It would be really nice if I had more time to share some of the things I got going on. So yeah, that would be dope.
One of the things I would like to do is get like a 5x5 tent, or 5x9 would be awesome, but 5x5 would be just fine. Get myself a Canon LED or two to throw in there and light that up, and just have that as my project tent. And then you can even get like a webcam or whatever like that. And so fans of the show, they could like link up to it anytime, day or night, and see what's going on in there. I think that'd be a cool idea.
Yeah, and I want to give a shout out to Rapid LED too. So they're great supplemental lights, and even for not supplemental, like I'm gonna have like some results and stuff, and some documented fucking actual hands-on science, and then and we'll be able to go over some things, and I'm going to try a couple of different things too until I can get my hands on a Canon Canon, and go about. I'll end up running a Canon, and then 2 Rapid LEDs would probably be my ideal setup for a summer, and then I'll end up running. I think I'm going to go to HPS and Super HPS, which I'm learning is something new, I guess. So I'm going to run Super HPS and Rapid LEDs, and for winter growing. So yeah, I'd be super excited. So shout out to Rapid LED Core 85s. I run the 4000K full spectrum, so you can raise them to the ceiling and put your seedlings on the ground and grow them in there too from start to finish. They work great. There's no fan. They do get warm to the touch, but never too warm to where you can't continuously hold on to them. So they do great for heat as far as in a tent goes, because there's no ballast necessary. It plugs right in. And it's a Canadian company, so shout out to them.
Like that. Try and support Canada whenever possible. I think we cut Rick off there a few minutes ago as he was trying to say.
Oh, I'm sorry, dude.
Rick, I apologize for that. Sometimes you just gotta butt yourself in here. So,
Hey, no worries, no worries. I'm interested in the conversations anyway. I just want to say though that like I couldn't hear your cats howling in the background, but just over your shoulder, do I see a t-shirt? A t-shirt. Move a little bit to your right there. There you go. Yeah, the Cariboo Hart Organics. I just noticed that there.
okay, so that's the. I'll go grab that real quick. No, it is not a t-shirt. This is the original drawing of our new logo that the IT department did. And I very much would like to get this made into t-shirts. It's just not financially in the cards till sometime in the new year. It's the wrong time of season to be thinking of that kind of stuff.
That looks cool, man. Looks cool.
What's that, Terp? You're on mute. You're muted, buddy.
Oh, I was saying, what did you guys do? Go eat a few caps out in the forest before you made that, or what?
Dude, man, that is the sativa.
She actually does it. Well, I don't know if you heard that, her response there saying
It's
that's
sativa?
yeah, it's a sativa coming through.
That's for me too.
So yeah, it's kind of funny. I'm generally an indica guy myself. I like just that full massive fuck you up high. But I find that the last month or so,
all
I've
day.
been having a hard time focusing. I'll be trying to do something and I'll be more likely to just sit there and stare at it than actually get to it. And I
That's
think
that
it's 'cause-
CBD indica mix.
yeah,
Yeah, I feel like that fucks you up during the day because it shuts your brain down, but not your body, and so then you're just frustrated.
yeah. So
So
that's
if you've got shit to do for that day, then
yeah. So I'm trying to get a little bit more towards the CBD or CBD, the more sativa leaning strains here. So another good reason to start fucking around with the Arise.
Yeah. I do have one more question. It's not related to the topic of autoflower, but it's just something I want to throw out there. I'm coming near the end of my run here and looking for those fall colors, and I'm not really having success. I understand that in order to
you're running soil.
colors, I'm in cocoa.
You're in cocoa.
And
You're flushing. What's your ppms coming out?
I only started flushing 2 days ago, so I haven't
And
even.
how much time you got left?
I like to flush for 10 days in cocoa.
10 days. Are you gonna flush with any Epsom salts? Are you gonna fucking leach it?
No, I hadn't thought about it. No.
Well, I would think if you only got 10 days left and you're trying to leach all the nutrients out of your system, well, it's got the magnesium in there though. I would just start running straight sugars and water and make sure your pH is above I'd go above 9. Lockout.
Oh, really?
I'm gonna send you a little diagram that shows what nutrients are locked out at what pH. Right. So then you think about flower, you think about late flower, you think about fall colors, you think about zero nilch nitrogen. I would honestly be in there. How much are you flushing to 10%?
Yeah, approximately, yeah. But I use it.
Increase it to 80%.
You really
Go in there, put it high up on something, and get some high pH'd water, like 8.8, fucking way up there. Distilled water. I just use distilled water. You don't pH up. You don't got to play with that right now. Just take distilled water. Get your pot raised up. You're in a fabric pot.
Yes, but I'm also I use the drain to waste, so I don't have to. I can just all the water goes right through.
Here's a tip for you: take a shop vac and flush the shit out of that thing. But take your shop vac and grab the top of your fabric pot and fucking suck the sides of your fucking fabric pot off, and you'll suck up a bunch of any organic matter, anything you got built up on there. You'll suck that up, and it's going to help you flush a little better. And do that all the way around the pot. Make sure you hold the top of the fabric pot when you've got the vacuum and you're sucking it up off of there, so you're not pulling your plant off and you don't do something dangerous. And then take that and flush it to like 80%. Just start draining that motherfucker, and throw some powdered coconut water powder, powderized coconut water.
Oh yeah.
So you know what I'm talking about?
No.
Okay.
I also want to.
You don't have to specifically use this brand, but you can get food grade, freeze dried coconut water powder. This stuff is made from young coconuts. And then just take that and you can either mix it in the water, but what I like to do is I like to soil drench the fuck out of it till I got about 20-30% water coming out, and then I'll top dress it with the cocoa, and then I'll water that in, and just do that for the next 10 days and just keep fucking draining and flushing that motherfucker. You're gonna watch your fall colors come out real quick.
And okay, 2 questions. One, what does that particular product do? And also, is there any relationship to the temperature that you're running as well? I've heard that you should bring down your temperature, and I
Oh,
was
absolutely.
yeah.
That's a given. Yeah, I think that's a standard across the board. I failed to mention that. Maybe it's something I looked past, but thanks for mentioning that. But yeah, it's that's standard across the board. 68 to 72 degrees is the range you want.
And is that during the day or at night or both?
I would say during the day, 72 degrees, at night, 68
Oh, okay,
or
okay,
lower.
okay. Yeah,
And
I
then
was only running.
decrease it by 1 degree every day for the next 10 days.
Okay.
You're imitating life. You're
Yeah.
imitating the sun. You're imitating the way the world turns and breathes and works. And so in this small environment, it's just easier to control, and so you just think of it that way. So, as the temperature goes down and the cooler comes in, then bring the humidity down, right? As it warms up a little bit, then it's the same concept of things, and then, but as far as your soil and the sugars, did you ran microbes or any of that stuff, or did you just run straight? Yeah, you did.
I ran microbes. I ran recharge, but
Okay.
I stopped
How late did you run recharge?
up until about week 5.
Okay, so yeah, you don't have any added extra nitrogen in there, so yeah, I would just in the future maybe focus more on the phosphorus microbes. I don't have the exact names for them right now off the top of my head. I'll find that stuff later or whatever. If anybody's got any questions, they list them on there, the type of bacillus that it is. But anyways, so increase those kind of microbes and your beneficials, specifically beneficial bacteria that antagonize and work with microbes that eat phosphorus. So that in the future too will help you with your coloring and bring out the best of whatever your genetics has to offer. But those sugars are going to add added carbohydrates and stuff to keep everything alive as you're leaching the system. And then by soil drenching this latent flower, by soil drenching, what you're doing is you're leaching out all those nutrients, so you're getting rid of all that fucking built up nitrogen, all that whatever, if you had salt build up in there and stuff. And I know latent flowers, it's always good to do a few Epsom salt baths in there. So it's always good to just flush everything out. And latent flower, drench it to like 80%. Put a fan on top of it after you're done. You don't want to, you're not going to get root rot this fast. So there's no use to feeding 10% anymore. You're trying to flush everything out of there. So just start. If you're flushing means flush. Like you want it pouring out clear liquid. You want minimal ppms. Typically when I'm done flushing, I don't see a whole lot of shit coming out because I'm flushing with distilled water. I'm going to be in the unreadable range as much as possible by the time I'm cutting that thing down.
Yeah, cool.
But that'll help increase your fall colors too. It's leaching out all that stuff that's helped keeping that plant green.
Okay, thank you. That makes sense. Yeah.
Rick, can I ask you a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
How the hell did you get that background on your screen? Because we've spent a lot of time trying to figure out how to do that and have been completely
digital
unsuccessful.
green screen.
I found it within Zoom somewhere. Went to settings and it gave me 5 or 6 different options, and I honestly I was just fooling around and found it. That's the best I can do for you there.
Because there's been a couple times now that I've fucked around and I've even taken pictures out of my off my computer and put them on there to try and pick them, and it says I picked it, and then I'll go and fuck around on Zoom and there's just what's behind me in the background.
Yeah, we're gonna change that. We're gonna
Okay.
change that.
Okay, I like the sounds of that.
I'm gonna change mine too. So
Yeah, and well, and then if you ever get around to making the fucking flavor wheel of disgustingness, or you can put that as the big background screen.
we'll call it the not so flavorful flavor wheel.
Okay.
But it'll be completely true because it's all the disgusting terpenes that everybody
Well,
loves.
I just coined it right now. That's what I'm gonna call it.
Yeah, fair enough, fair enough. Especially if you're the one doing the artwork. And we could even
Oh, fuck.
By the way,
I am not an artwork guy. So when we talk about skills and we talk about traits and genetic traits, drawing is not a genetic trait of mine.
Oh,
So.
like I draw stick man, and that's about where my artistic abilities begin and end. And that the Cariboo Hart Organics logo, that was definitely 100% the wife. So hopefully she can come up with a
I
couple
can't
of
play music, but I wish I could because I fucking love reggae.
yeah.
And I can't draw for shit. I am not the most articulate person at times. I hate writing and I hate typing, and there's two reasons for that. And let me explain to the people, because sometimes I don't always shout out, or I sound like an idiot online, I feel like, because I get so frustrated with my ADHD that I cannot type fast enough before I get frustrated and impatient to be able to help people because I can't find their names or I can't type fast enough. I literally have a phone and I have one thumb that I get to type an entire keyboard with buttons this fucking small. My other thumb is only half of it there. So I can't do this little that everybody's used to doing. And so I'm a bit handicapped. And so I apologize because I'm not always able to show how happy I am to see everybody and talk to everybody as I actually am. And it really sucks and it's super frustrating sometimes.
but I have to, Terp, I have to give you a compliment though on your photography. Some of the shots that you posted on Canvas are really cool. Actually, it did inspire me to buy a little Christmas present for myself. I'm picking up a macro lens for my iPhone, so I can get some of those close-ups and the.
Oh, it's gonna open up a whole new world.
Nice.
I start looking at plants and everything around me a whole different way now.
Yeah.
Like I love the bug pictures; those are my favorite too. But yeah, it's just it definitely for a person that has a short attention span and has to constantly be doing multiple things. That's really fun to be able to have something to distract my mind when I want to, you know.
Cool.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna start playing with this. We've had this fairly fancy camera for a couple of years now. I'm not sure if it's even right here, but we went out for a crew lunch the other day, or kind of a Merry Christmas lunch from the boss. And it's the restaurant we were at is actually my next door neighbor's wife works there. And when as we were eating, she showed us the picture on the menu was a really nice shot of the restaurant with a really nice sunrise over top of it. And she's, oh, that's Barry's picture right there. So shout out to my neighbor Barry. And apparently he's a bit of a photographer. So I was messaging with him a little bit the other day. So maybe he could show me how to use this camera we got, because I've seen it take some really good pictures, but it seems like every time I get it into the grow room and I start trying to take pictures of my plants, it seems like I can do a better job with my phone. And it just, that seems wrong to me. So I'm sure there's a couple buttons or settings on there that I just, you got to do this and then that, and then it'll do what I want it. So looking forward to that.
What restaurant did you go to?
The Red Rock.
Oh yeah. It's a good.
Yeah,
restaurant.
no, it wasn't bad actually. When I first moved to Williams Lake, what was that? About 7-8 years ago now. Or,
What did you eat? More importantly,
what did I have there? Oh, a giant burger. That's like, it's called the Wimpy Burger, and it's not.
I feel like people get so caught up. I just want to say something. I feel like people get so caught up in oh, where did you eat specifically? Like, there's a lot of great restaurants out there, but they could still have shit cooks.
Well, this restaurant that we're talking
So what
about,
did you?
what I was just gonna say is when I first moved here, well, we went there about 3-4 times real soon after I moved here, and I was disgusted each and every time, and I haven't been back to that restaurant since. It's under new management, new ownership, and they've moved locations as well to a new place. And I will shout that restaurant out definitely. I had a good meal there. And we need more places like that in 100 Mile because it is literally you blink twice and you miss it as you drive through. We don't have much. We had a pretty decent burger joint that did specialty burgers, but apparently that's closing down.
Here's a little tip for you if you're traveling and you're looking for restaurants. And this is not always the case because there's some really great,
Go to the hole in the wall.
big, huge restaurants that are run. No, so like when you're looking for a restaurant, find a restaurant that has a menu that is very short, very small, and very particular, but with good flavors, right? So like if you find a menu and they've only got 5 selections of every protein category and 3 selections from a salad, and generally this is not always the case because there's some small towns out there that just, I mean, that's what they have.
Yeah.
But some of these places, these bigger places, they'll have these very small refined menus, very short, very to the point. Those are chef owned, and if they're a good chef, you're probably going to have one of the best meals that you couldn't get anywhere else because it came from that particular person.
Yeah.
And that directly correlates with weed too. I mean, there's great weed out there, and there are big companies that make lots of really great weed, but man, there's some small breeders out there that fucking have some shit laying around and some shit. I've smoked some shit from people I've made me fucking, I thought I was fucking shrooming, you know what I mean? So it's out there. But yeah, find a restaurant that's got a small to the point, not trying to give you so many goddamn things you got to choose from because they're trying to hide all their store bought out of a box shit.
Well, that's the other thing. Like, I find my appetite's been waning the last year. Maybe it's just I'm getting a little bit older, but like I go through the grocery store, and for the most part, I'm just like, I like nothing really seems to excite me when I go through there anymore. Like, is it just me, or does it seem like the food quality in this world is going down like big time? And
I don't know about that, but
so you're like, fuck it, that thing that does look half decent, I got to pay the nose for it now.
The more I learn about plants and the more I learn about biology and the way it works, like I'm finding connections in everything. Like I'm seeing the connections of life, period. Like that's how I feel. So fuck, I just hit that. I got all fucking blazed. I'm finding connections with it all. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
I just a little bit further on this subject. When the Red Rock opened up shortly after they were allowed to open up from the COVID, I know the owner, and he decided to go get involved with the shop locally. Like, so everything on his menu is purchased within 100 miles of where we live, and there's something about that. And just one more point on bees and honey. You will find that the bees from our particular area produce
work with your immune system.
Yeah, and they produce. Yeah, there you go.
Eat local honey. Eat your local honey yearly at the end during the fall stage. That's a good time to start detoxing your body, detoxing the pollens out of your body, and eating the local honey gives you, for someone who is dying from allergies, every little bit that I can to help the longevity of my life is better. And eating that local honey helps your immune system build immunity to the pollens that you're naturally succumb to on a daily.
That makes sense. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So I just went and grabbed his Beekeeping for Dummies book. We were looking at getting into doing this this year, but let's
I
face it,
can't
man,
wait to
2020, a
start
lot of
diving
plans.
in.
What
You're
what's
going to
that,
be
buddy?
teaching me about that in the future, because whenever I get to where I can get to be done,
Yeah.
about the last day of my days, then I want to set something up like that.
So yeah, this is one of the things we've been thinking about doing. So hopefully this year.
Have you seen that show on Netflix called Little Big Farm or Our Little Farm?
Yeah, that's
Something-
the one you just told me about, right?
Right.
Yeah, we watched that a couple days ago, and that
Oh God, wasn't that wonderful?
And
Yeah.
that's-
So I mean, that's like, yeah, I couldn't imagine living in a better place than that. I would live out the rest of my days just wandering around that place. I'll just take care of the cannabis field. You guys can do all the fruit and trees.
yeah, that's kind of where I agree. That's kind of my long-term goal, is to get myself like a 10-15 acre piece of land somewhere out in, actually, Rick, your end of your neck of the woods, Ruth Lake, Hawkins Lake area. I like that area.
Turparina and I determined we want 2 goats, 6 chickens, some cats, a couple dogs, and I'm gonna need a few ducks and a couple barn owls, and I'm good.
Yeah, we've got 5 chickens, and those 5 can give us more eggs than my family of 5 can keep up with.
I want black chickens.
Ooh, didn't you say you were looking at one not long ago? What happened with that?
I just never, she sold it.
Oh, okay. So the IT department was talking to someone on a Facebook group about possibly buying a black chicken, but I guess it didn't pan out, and she sold it before we could get to it. But
Oh,
that means
I feel like black chickens are pretty easy to find around here.
yeah, well, they're in the area, right? That means, so if there's some now, there'll be more later. It's just a matter of time.
And guess what? The new thing is lots of people like cannabis, so
Yeah.
you might be able to trade.
Yep.
Barter.
Whenever possible, I like to barter with stuff like I'm a
I
utility
couldn't
arborist.
imagine anything better.
I work in the utility arborist industry, so tree work, right? That's one thing I've been known to trade for stuff.
Everybody's good at something. I know the things I'm not good at, but I still enjoy the things that I'm not good at. Like, you take music, for instance, I pay for music because I enjoy the music they make. I wish I could do that, but my brain's not wired. I'm not genetically wired to be able to produce that. I'm genetically wired to bring life and healing and understanding and seeing, you know what I mean? And so everybody's good at something. So I feel like barter and trade is like the greatest thing, because I have something that everybody loves, and I would love to trade that for all the things that I love. And that would be like perfect harmony for me.
Yeah, I feel
I mean, obviously it's a pipe dream, but
there's way too much emphasis put on cash these days. It's disgusting. Everybody freaked out about how they're going to pay the mortgage, the rent, or put food on the table, clothes on their back, etc., etc.
Still am.
Yeah, man, like it's ridiculous. It's too much stress.
I live in a place where one side's shut down and one side's not shut down, and you got people coming in from everywhere to the side that's not shut down, making.
We just lost your audio. Your audio went all tinny on us there.
So I got a lot of stuff on my plate today, Brad. So
it's about that time to start winding down.
Yeah. It's light out. God, what a beautiful day.
Yeah. Actually, I'll just give you a show the window here. So what we're looking at. Sunrise.
Oh yeah.
Can't see it too well with the screen in the way, but and then we got some IT department work right there. Artwork, Grinch in the front window.
Right on.
But yeah, I suppose it is about that time. So if you guys want to say again, buddy.
Yeah.
Right. Let's do shout out to Cannabis, shout out to Ross and Jeff. The show's on today. Make sure you check it out on Cannabis. I know I'm excited for all that. So, and then shout out to everybody on Cannabis. I don't always get to all the names. I'm super stoned right now. So shout out to everybody.
All
Yeah,
right.
and that Christmas special with the Rasta Jeff is on today, correct? I forget exactly what
Yes, I
time.
believe so.
Go to
Okay.
Cannabis, it'll tell you what time he'll be aired, and that should be a good show. We can talk about this off the air, but we next Saturday is Boxing Day. It may not be I don't know if we'll be able to produce a show next week or not.
Oh, well, I know I'll be around, but we can definitely talk about that. It's definitely not a set and do a show every Saturday. It's when we're able to, and right, it's meant to be fun, so it's not a forceful let's do it
Yeah, I get
kind
it.
of thing. I would like to have a show done at some point in time in the next week again. We've batted around the idea of maybe doing a second show with a different style and theme to it, where maybe we do product review. I talked about how I'd like to get a tent and use that as like a project tent. That would be a great place for doing stuff like that. And just if you get people a nutrient line here, try this out for us. Okay, we'll use that on this grow and we'll document it right here on camera for the Cannabis family and the Cariboo Hart TV show.
Well, the good news is I have a buddy of mine who has got a state that just went legal, full rec. And he doesn't live far from me, so I'll be doing probably a little setup up at his place, and gonna throw some Rasta Jeff in the bucket and show the people what Rasta Jeff has to offer in a completely ridiculous glory.
That sounds fun. That
Just
sounds
as a
like a
shout out
lot
to
of
him.
fun.
So, and I reached out to him and I told him I'm going to let him pick out what he wants to see. And so he's going to pick out the strain out of everything that I have, and he's going to tell me what he wants to see. And what better judge than the person, the creator himself? So
Yeah.
I'm excited to be able to show my process to his genetics and see what he has to say about how I do, good and bad. Like I really want to know what this man thinks of what I do.
Yep.
The whole process. So that's it's really nice. It's going to be a blessing having somebody that lives that close and be able to go out and do something legally. And you know what I mean? So,
Yep. Yeah. That's awesome.
Okay, gentlemen, thank you for the time together, and I hope we can get together again soon.
Absolutely. Rick, it was great talking to you, and we'll look at you before too long, buddy.
Okay, buddy. We'll talk soon.
All right. Did you have anything else you needed to add to this, Terp? All right, buddy. We'll talk to you later. And yeah, well, I imagine I'll see him today when Rasta Jeff does his thing on Cannabis. As for me, I just want to give a big shout out to Mike. He's our #1 fan. And right here's the White Widow Afghani F2. Was our number 18 phenotype, the one that I picked. That was the closest representative of the actual White Widow cut. It's loaded full of seeds right now, just drying out, doing its thing. And you said you wanted to grow those, so that's going to be an option for you now if you still want to be growing those. Shout out to the IT department. Thank you for hanging out in the chat on YouTube, trying to help us funnel any questions over this way. And we'll see everybody on Cannabis at 1 p.m. my time. And the rest of you, we'll see you later on in the next week. Have a great weekend and a great week coming.